in Pebble's case, they filed after 1 in the second time.
I see.
And they don't have to wait for 3. They just do. As a point of fact, if your mortgage is late, even if it's beyond the grace period, you're in default and they can foreclose.
Well, I'm sure. Obviously, we talked about a lawyer's fee, and I'm sure Pebble paid you for your services, and she's very happy with your services. But having this happen twice, my guess is there were some other fees that went around with this other than just your fee.
Oh, that's one of the hardest things about a foreclosure, is that in a foreclosure, the attorney's fees for the bank get paid out of the foreclosure. So in order to settle a foreclosure, the bank wants the homeowner to pay those attorney's fees. And it's very difficult to get around. In fact, it's impossible to get around.
I see.
Unless the law firm that's filing it gives you a break, which doesn't happen very often.
Well, I guess we'd certainly like to thank Pebble for her sharing her story, and you, of course, too. So we have a real face on what appears to be a serious problem that's going on in our country now. Do you have any thoughts for our viewers in general? What would you advise them to do? I know we covered some of this, but kind of to tie up the loose ends, if it happens to you. And at 40% of the Medina County Common Pleas docket, it's happening to a lot of people.
It is.
And in a county that you have rightfully brought forward is not really a poor county.
No.
So what do you leave the folks with, Steve?
Well, a couple things, I think. I mean, for one, it's a lot easier to keep the toothpaste from coming out of the tube than it is to get it back in. So if you're getting behind in your mortgage, try not to let it go to a foreclosure. Deal with the bank up front. Banks today have a lot of programs for helping people in those circumstances. And, avail yourself of those programs because, again, once the foreclosure is filed, it becomes a much more difficult thing than keeping it from being filed in the first place.
I see.
Second thing is, if you do get foreclosure filed on you, like you said, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. If you ignore it, the bank is going to get that order to sell your house a lot faster, okay, than if you do something about it. And the third thing is see a lawyer, at least for the purpose of finding out what this process is and what your choices are.
CZ, our organization, Steve, utilizes the Ohio Bar Association periodically for a number of things. We buy a lot of materials from them to use in our classes. It's my understanding that the Ohio Bar Association has a program that could help people in this situation?
They do. Because of the crisis in foreclosures in Ohio, the Ohio Bar, the Supreme Court of Ohio, and the Governor's Office teamed up together for something which they call the Save the Dream Hotline, and there's a telephone number for it. And what it is, it's just it's a program where lawyers, I think 1,000 of them in Ohio to date, have volunteered their time to consult with people in foreclosures.
I see.
Now, to take advantage of that program, you do have to be able to show that you have the economic ability to make payments if your loan is restructured. So, I mean, if there is no hope of saving your home, they will assess that and tell you they can't help you. This is a program of lawyers who are helping people renegotiate their loans where they do have the ability to pay a renegotiated price, and it's free. It's available to people who don't have the resources to pay a lawyer.
Well, our website, CZ-CLEP.org, there's a link on it to the Ohio Bar Association, so there would be another opportunity for our viewers to research it that way. Of course, contacting local counsel appears to be a real smart thing to do. Well, Steve, I'd like to thank you for being our guest on this episode of Law Talk. To view this episode and others, go to our website, which I mentioned is www.CZ-CLEP, or we call it CZ-CLEP.org. I am John Celebrezze, and I thank you for tuning in to Law Talk.